today, but.
I am recording it for you. I'll post it up on YouTube for you when we're done.
Great. Thank you.
So again,
we're missing a beautiful intro, but you know, we got to.
I mean, they are the intro. Okay, so how this process looks in the system, we use a pyramid to visualize it. And you'll see, Nicole's probably seen this at the top of the dashboard, it directed in a different way, but it starts out with your organization, and underneath your organization, hierarchical, okay, well, I just brushed my teeth, I can't do a thing with it. Okay, organization first, then your groups underneath that organization. Your groups can be anything from, division, office, program, to your grant tracking, FAB accreditation. So many groups. Underneath each of those groups, they'll have their own set of services, initiatives, what you're planning on doing in the future. And underneath those services and initiatives, they'll have their own individual goals, those objectives that go with those goals, and the activities that go with the objectives. So the bottom half is kind of like how we do it. We can put a great plan in there, but all right, how are we planning to do it? And this breaks it down. With that, I think that's my 10,000 words. I usually I'm going to go off camera, not to distract from Fred's beauty. He is the developer, the guru. I am the head bottle washer. So Fred, I'm going to have you go ahead, take it away. Please breathe, take your breaks, ask questions. And we have named this the Drink from a Fire Hose presentation. What about, Fred, are you going to take them through the tobacco cessation? We're just going to take you through an operational plan in the system. Yeah. It helps a lot. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Okay. What we've done is we've developed this little demo organization we call USA Public Health. So as Andrea mentioned, there's really kind of three phases to the system: operational planning, monitoring, and then the PDCA cycle. So what we're going to do now is actually walk through those cycles so we can see. We're going to develop a little operational plan. We'll monitor through its life cycle. We'll walk it through the PDCA cycle to see where it can be changed. And then we'll go deeper into the different groups and things, and we'll talk specifically about the reaccreditation plan that's built in. It's a FAB reaccreditation plan, walks you through the entire process, good place to store your documents and everything else. So let's go ahead and go over to the system. So I know, Jana, at least you have logged into the system. Nicole, have you been in already as well?
I have logged in before, but I don't feel like I know so much more beyond that. So start from as basic as you need.
Okay, so when you log in, you guys are probably both org admins, I would guess. So you're going to see a menu very similar to this, all these different buttons on it. When you log in, you're also taken to your specific group. Now, if you recall a minute ago, Andrea showed you the pyramid. If you look at the pyramid, flip it on its left side, that's what these tabs are across the top, the navigation. So you got the organization, which is your health department, groups, your divisions, offices, programs, primary plans, things along that line, vision, mission, and values for each group, service initiatives, goals, objectives, and activities. So you're just walking down the pyramid if you're going across the tabs. So the first tab we'll typically go to is your groups tab. Now you'll notice up here, you got the department level, which is typically the highest level. Over here, you'll see these level numbers. So a level 2 group reports to a level 1 group, a level 3 group reports to level 2. So it's hierarchical. You can go to 10 levels deep. I don't think anybody's ever got past 6. You guys are probably as large as anybody that's in the system. So you might be down at 5 or 6 down there. One of the things you typically have, especially for accreditation, is what FAB calls their 6-pack of plans up here. So your strategic plan, your CHA, your CHIP, QI, emergency ops, and workforce development plan. And then down here, you'll see some of the divisions like administration, finance, HR, IT, that sort of thing. Now you'll notice that I've got community health highlighted. So when I logged in, it took me right to community health, which indicates that I belong to community health. So my user profile is attached to community health. We can look at your guys and see where you are, and I'll show you how to change that around. It's very easy. But within community health, then I have this group called Tobacco 2021. What we're going to do now is we're going to walk through a real simple operational plan that usually is pretty easy to follow. So under the group Tobacco 2021, we have a set of services. So one of those services, now the services are the big buckets. These are the things that you're going to do, like tobacco cessation would be a bucket. Secondhand smoke would be a different bucket. Tobacco initiation prevention would be a different bucket. What we're going to do is walk through this tobacco cessation. So what are the things we're going to do to accomplish tobacco cessation? So the first thing is we're going to set goals. Now goals are, again, they're fairly big picture, typically an action verb like reduce, and then what we're going to do, smoking in high school. So that's fairly generic. And you see reduce smoking in colleges, reduce smoking in public areas, and I'm sure you could add 100 more of those on there. Underneath the goal, and by the way, as we get down to the goal level, you're going to see the traffic lights out there, green, yellow, red, and gold. So green typically indicates things are moving along as expected. Yellow is maybe something's getting in the way. Think about 18 months ago when this thing called COVID came around and you didn't know what it's going to do to your resources. You might take a program like this and say, we're going to have to put this on hold. So you mark it as yellow. Down here, you might put a note that says, hey, this thing called COVID came around. We don't know what it's going to do to our resources. So we're going to mark it as yellow for now. 6 months ago when you got engaged in doing, deeper into COVID and doing vaccinations and such, maybe you're going to mark that as a red, just saying, hey, we don't really have any resources to apply to this. We're just going to kind of take it off the map here. So that's what the red would typically indicate. And then you also have a gold bar. The gold bar indicates successful completion. So typically when you're looking at a goal or an activity, you're going to have a successfully completed goal or activity. 1 second here. It's out of my way. Okay. So now the goal here is to reduce smoking in high schools. Underneath that, you're going to have a set of objectives. And the objectives are what we call SMART. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. So as an example, reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. So what we've created is a very finite target at this point. Now, the other thing we do at this point is we assign somebody to be what we call the objective lead. In this case, it's the project manager, program manager, something along that line. Whoever is guiding this particular piece of the program and wants to get us to the target here. So I can go in here and select anybody in the organization. You notice I can select from any place over here by hitting the show all users or show user groups here. One of the issues that we have seen quite often is that a lot of, especially strategic plans, get down to this level. This level, again, defines what you're trying to accomplish, but what it doesn't do is define how you're going to accomplish that. And that's where we get down to the activity level. So the activities are the set of steps you're going to go through to get to this target. So let's just look at some sample activities that might be getting you to that target. So number one, create training for students and faculty on the dangers of smoking. So we have the activity down here. Every activity has got a performance metric or target. It just says, how do I know when I've successfully completed the activity? So we're looking to build training content. Down here, once the content is created, we've successfully completed the activity. Every activity has a date range, a beginning date and an ending date. So within this time frame, we're going to accomplish the activity. And then the project-based activity, you can see there's 3 types of activities. We'll talk about all 3 of them here. Project-based activity is the most simple, and it's measured in a % complete. Now there's also a very new feature we just added. We haven't actually rolled it out yet. It's in here. And that is the ability to make we've had a lot of cases where project-based activities are either done or not done, and there's no, in between. So people wanted to have the idea of a yes/no activity. So you can actually do that by clicking on this guy and saying, I want this to be a yes/no activity. It'll change this to a little checkbox saying yes when you're done. So it's easier to manage that way. What happens to the reporting and everything, it just marks it as 100% complete, but it's just a more intuitive way to go about doing it here. So a project-based activity is measured, 0 to 100%. In this case, let's say you were creating chapters of the training material over time. So maybe when you got to chapter 2, you marked it as 50% done, chapter 3, 75, and then when you finally got it done, you marked it as 100%. And you notice it marked itself as gold when you mark it at 100%. So it says this activity is complete. So that's the project-based activity. Very simplistic. Again, the measurement is just 0 to 100%. Now, the other thing we'll do at the activity level is we'll assign a team of people. Click on this little icon here. Oh, hang on a second. Save that. Okay. Assign a team of people. So right now I have Steve Hansen, who is just within the Tobacco 2021 group. I can either select people from another group, or I can just click here and say, show me everybody in the department. So now you'll notice these three columns over here. These are important. Number one, the team members here. So you see we have Steve and Andrea as team members. Number two is the team lead. So the team lead typically is a single person, but there is an option to make multiple team leads. And that makes some kind of sense where you've got maybe part-time people or you got internal and external folks, things like that. So you can have multiple team leads. This is the person who's guiding the team, if you will. And then this third one is interesting, and that is the email notification. So we have this thing called real-time planning, and what it does is on a regular basis, it will email, in this case, Steve Hansen, and ask him to update this activity. And we have what we call the quick update system, which is a very simplistic way to go about updating the activity. And you can do it on your desktop or you can do it on your phone nowadays. Over here in the right-hand column, we have FTE. This is actually something that Maricopa requested many, many years ago. It's not used a lot, but it does give you the ability to track how much input, how much human input you're getting into an activity. So you notice we have down here, we have Steve at a 0.1 FTE, Andrea at a 0.3 FTE. So what we can do is say, this is how much human resource we're going to invest in this activity. You know, does it make sense to do that? And what we do with that FTE number is we kind of roll it up the pyramid. So down here, you'll see that 0.1 and 0.3 equals a 0.4. If I look at all of these activities and roll it back up to the objective level here, you can see we have a 1.0 FTE down here. So it just allows you to look and say, how much is this going to cost us in terms of human capital to be able to do this? The other thing you can do is you can have external partners involved. So down here, you got the same thing. I'm looking at my external partner. So let's say in this case, VMSG Dashboard is your external partner, and the contact is Fred Erickson. Now, this partner database you guys build out. There's a tool in there for org admins under utilities that you can just go in and build out the partner database. You can have as many partners as you want. Each one can have as many contacts as you want. So in this case, you see that Fred Erickson at VMSG Dashboard is our partner. Now, a couple of things. At this point in time, is all you're doing is tagging Fred as being the partner here. If you want Fred to be the person who's actually going to update the activity, you can make Fred a user in the system. So they'll have to be entered as a user. And then you can assign Fred in that activity column, the activity team, you can assign Fred as the email notification. So at that point in time, Fred will get the email. So what you can do is bring your external partners involved, especially in things like your chip, where you're going to have a lot of external folks working with you. Instead of you having to call them, collect the information, going back and putting it in the system will email them. It'll give a link in the email to come right back into the system and update the particular activities they've been assigned. And we're very happy to set up training with your partners. So if you want to set up some times for the partners that you would work with on this type of thing, we're happy to set up the training for them at no cost to you as well. So you got your teams and your partners. Yes. Did you need something? I'm sorry.
Nope, I'm just commenting on how great that is. We have
Okay.
so many new people that have come in that the people that are really familiar with this, we don't have a lot of people that are really familiar with it, but
Yeah, true. But let's get that started again. I mean, you guys were using it for years.
amazing capability here. This is great.
And the fact that you're going into reaccreditation or deep into reaccreditation, I think you'll see the tools in here that will help you a lot to do that. Okay, so that's our first activity, that project-based activity. So now we've created training materials. Our second activity then is we're going to provide 9 training sessions each month on the dangers of smoking to students and faculty. This is a different type of activity. It's called a QA or quality assurance activity. And by the way, you guys named these things years ago, so that's where that came from. The QA activity is unique in the fact, a couple things. Number one, it provides a beginning date and a frequency as opposed to a beginning date and an ending date. And what that does for you by clicking the little wizard here It says I've got this set up to be monthly. So what's going to happen is every month I'm going to be measuring this. Now, the other thing I can do is set up targets in here. So I set up a target of 9 being my green. I set up a target of red, of 6 being my red. So if I'm at or above 9, it's going to automatically set the traffic light to green. If I'm at or below 6, it's going to set the traffic light to red. And if I'm in between 6 and 9, it's going to set it to yellow. Now, there's also an option, and the only example I can think of is a golf score. So lower is better. So if I click on this little guy here and flip it around to less than or equal, it'll just flip that around. So if it's less than or equal to 9, in this case, it would be green, or it would be green, and then it would be greater than, if it's greater than 6, it would be red. And obviously the numbers would have to match that, but you can flip that around so it can go either way. Down here, you're going to put in a metric type. So what are you actually doing? And you'll save it. And then what it does is actually generates the performance metric for you. So it says training sessions provided, measured monthly, green is greater than or equal to 9, yellow 6 to 9, and red is less than or equal to 6. So that's the QA activity. The team and the partners are exactly the same, but you're going to set up the recurring activity. And the reason that that's important is because in this case, we're doing it every month. So why have to go in and update the dates every month? Let the system do that for you. So what happens is when you go in and do an update here, it's going to pop open a little window. Let's go ahead and make this, let's call it 10. And when I save it, I'm going to get this little window that says, would you like to update the cycle start date? You can say, no, I'm going to leave it as is. And that's typically if you're entering data in the middle of the month, you don't necessarily want to update the cycle date. You can say select a new date. So maybe you're on the 30th of the month and you want to set it for the 1st of the month. You might do the select. It'll give you a little field to put a date in, or you can just say make it to today's date. So if you're updating the information on the date on today's date and it's starting for today, you can just say current. So it just gives you a couple options to do that. Now what it does is move the activity a month ahead and allows you to enter the data as you're moving forward in there. We'll just say no for now. Nope. Okay. So that's activity number 2, the QA activity. So that would be the first step. You're going to create training, then you're going to provide training. The next one then is you're going to contact all 20 tobacco vendors within 1 mile of Wayne High School to ensure they're not selling to minors. Okay, kind of a nice thing to be able to do, and just make sure that you're not putting cigarettes in the hands of kids out here. That's called a quantitative measurement, a QM activity. Again, it's set up with the little wizard here. So you got a beginning date and ending date. You got a target number in this case. So in this case, we've got 20 tobacco vendors. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. What it's going to do is measure you against the target in this case. So you say tobacco vendors contacted. Down here, I've got the ability to provide a data entry type. Number 1 is to enter a value to add to total. So let's say you're going out every week and or every month, maybe even 4/1 to 7/22. Every month you're going out and you're contacting 4 or 5 tobacco vendors. So what you can do is put in down here in this field, you can put in the number you contacted each month, and it's going to add up the total for you. Or you can just say, maybe I'm just going to go out and do it all in one day. I can say, I'm just going to enter a number to add to the total, or a new total value. So what it'll do, instead of having this field that adds up, just give you one field to put in the total number in here, and it'll calculate your percent done. Now, there are times when you don't have a target number. So we have a health department in Ohio that does plumbing inspections, and they do them on demand. So they don't really have a target. They don't know how many they're going to be doing each month, but they do want to count the number they've done each month. So if you put a 0 target in here, it'll do exactly that. It has no denominator, so it can't calculate anything for you. All it can do is track the total number that you've had. So you typically leave that as an add, enter a value to add to total, and you put this as a 0, and it's just going to give you a field here to enter. It's going to total it up for you every time you go through it here. So it just allows you to count things. So there's times when you just want to know how many you've done in there. So that's the 3 activities in here that would get you to that target objective here of reducing smoking at Wayne High School by 25%. Now let's go back to our pyramid and kind of walk through it here. So if you recall, the group was Tobacco 2021, which is part of community health. The service was tobacco cessation. Remember, we had 3 services. The goal here is to reduce smoking in high schools. A little bit generic, a little bit high level. Then we get down to that SMART objective: reduce smoking in Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And then the activities are just the steps we're going to go through to do that. So this is what the operational planning process looks like. For any type of plan, the format is exactly the same. And by the way, this format came from both you guys and ADHS as we were working. I think it was back in 2013, 2014 when we actually kind of got this created and rolled it out for you guys. But so this is the nomenclature for every plan. So as you're going through all of your plans, they all look alike. Now we've seen health departments, all over the nation, and they have 6 different plans, your Fab 6 pack of plans, and they're all in a different format. And it just kind of makes you crazy if you're in there trying to figure out, how do I update these plans, because they're all different. Everything's in the same format using the system here. Now, we've got the plan in there. Let's take it through that PDCA cycle. Now, our nomenclature is a little bit different. In fact, we have plan, do, check, and adjust versus typically it's plan, do, check, and act. But I'll show you why here in a second. So what we just did is the planning part. So we've got a good, solid operational plan in place. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and execute the plan. So we're going to go ahead and create the training modules. We're going to start doing the training at the schools, at 9 per month, I think it was. And we're going to start talking to those tobacco vendors. So that's the execution of the plan. Here's where that real-time planning comes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a specific time frame that we want those activities to be updated. And again, maybe we've outsourced some of that. Maybe we outsourced the talking to the tobacco vendors to somebody else. So we can, again, have those external folks getting that email. What's going to happen is they're going to get an email notification. They're going to click on the link in the email. It's going to take them right back to their assigned activities. And it could be one, or it could be dozens of activities. They're going to take those activities. They're going to update them. And then that gives us the information to be able to follow up. So we're going to check on it. The check phase allows us then to go look and say, how are we doing on this particular objective or activity? Let's go back and take a look at that here. So I'm at the objective level: reduce smoking in Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. Our check phase typically is just hitting this little button right here, this chart, and it says, here's how we did. So from the beginning, obviously we had 0, and then we climbed up, and this is our reduction in smoking to 10, 15, 20, and we got up to 25%. We kind of capped off right there. So this is kind of exactly what we thought would happen, or we were hoping would happen at that point in time, looking at the objective. So we're getting to our objective here. Now we go back.
I just wanted to let you know that I've asked Christine, another member of our team, to just jump in. She has a little bit of availability, and she works a lot with our grants on their goals, objectives, and activities. So I thought she might get some value and some good information by being here.
Awesome.
So just welcome, Christine.
Hi, Christine.
Hello.
Welcome. We are recording this, so for the part that you missed at the beginning, we'll send you a link to the video so you can look at the beginning part of it.
That's great.
Okay, so that's the check phase. You're going to go back in. You're going to look at our status, how we're doing, how we have come up over time, and that sort of thing. Then we go into the adjust phase. Now in the adjust phase, there's typically 4 scenarios. Number 1, you just saw it. That is, everything is working beautifully. We don't really have to change a thing. So in the planning phase, we're really going to go back to look at the plan. The plan stays the same. Everything is good. Continue to execute. Every once in a while, we'll go in and check. And that once in a while is whatever you decide. Sometimes, it makes sense only to do it quarterly, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly. If you're checking on number of COVID vaccinations, you might want to do it more often in today's world. If you're looking at, smoking cessation, you might want to look at it quarterly, something like that. So in this case, we had a great plan. It worked out exactly the way we wanted. Really no adjustment necessary. Now I'm going to take you back and look at a slightly different version of this. So we have another objective here: reduce smoking at Desert Vista High School. This is, by the way, where my kids went, down here in Ahwatukee. Smoking at Desert Vista High School by 25% by the end of the school year. Now let's go look at the status here. Look at the chart. So kind of the same ramp up period over here, but it looks like we only got to 21%. So we didn't quite make our target up here. Now to figure out why, let's go down to the activity level and look at each activity. So First activity is create training on dangers of smoking. And if we look again at our little chart here, it says, okay, we created 25, 50, 75, 100%. We got the training completed. We have a gold bar in there. Now, the second one says provide 9 training sessions each month on the dangers of smoking. We got a red light out there indicating something has gone wrong here. So if we go look at our chart here, we'll look and say, okay, you know, obviously we began with 0. We got up and we were doing our 9 training sessions a month. Maybe this is when COVID came in and started, you know, taking over the people staying home from school and that sort of thing. So we're not able to do the training in a lot of schools, and we got down here to 5, which set us to the red light in here. So, you know, that's an issue that's probably causing us to not get to our 21% in there. And then our last one down here is contact all 20 tobacco vendors. Again, I can go look at the chart, and you know, here we contacted 3, and then 7, and 11, and 12, 14, 15, 15. We only got to 15, so we didn't get to all 20 tobacco vendors. So that, in case, could be causing us an issue. And again, that, you know, could have been caused by COVID. You know, maybe these people went out of business, or maybe these people closed down for a while, something along that line. So in this case, if we go back to our PDCA cycle, we're going to have to make an adjustment. Now, there's typically 2 different adjustments. Number one is to the plan itself. So based on the real world, and let's talk about the world of COVID today, you know, there's not a lot of time and effort to do something like a tobacco cessation program if everybody else is out doing vaccinations and collecting information on COVID and that sort of thing. So maybe it's time to change the plan. So maybe we adjust the plan from 25 down to 21%. Right here, we continue the execution, we continue to check it. So we're going to adjust the plan to get down there. If it's really important that we get to that 25% and you can adjust the resources. So in this case, maybe let's say the training was our issue where we dropped, you know, from 9 down to 7 to 5. And because we couldn't get into schools because the students were at schools. So maybe what we do is create a virtual training program that we can actually do over Zoom or go to meeting or whatever. And then we get the students to come in, students and the teachers to come in and do the program online. So maybe that's an additional resource to get us to that 25. And then the third one where we couldn't contact tobacco vendors, maybe we just, you know, the people who were doing that got redirected to doing COVID related activities or something. So maybe we can bring in an external consultant with some grant money or something along that line to actually do the contacting. So adjusting the resources would be the next thing. And then a very common one is number 4, and that is adjusting both the plan and the resources. So maybe we can't get to that 25%, but maybe we can get to 23%. So let's take the plan to 23, and let's go ahead and do the virtual training so that we can get more people involved in the training, and maybe that'll get us to the 23%. So adjusting the plan and the resources is the 4th scenario in there. So that's the PDCA cycle. You determine what the cycle time is here, but you're always going to have the ability to go in and make no adjustments, adjust the plan, adjust the resources, or potentially adjust both. So this is where Andrew makes me put in a thing to take a breath and ask any questions. So are there any questions on what we've gone over so far?
I don't.
Okay.
Nicole?
Yeah, none for me at this time, but I think as I get in there and start working through it myself, some questions may come up.
Yeah, and I want to let you guys know that you can contact us at any time. You know, I'll make sure you have my my phone number, email, text, whatever you want, so you can contact me at any point in time. And we're happy to set up follow-on training. This is just the introduction. You know, here's what the whole system's about. As you get down into, you know, entering plans and things like that, there's going to be a lot of questions, and we're happy to pop open to go to meeting and walk you guys through those more details.
Oh, we appreciate that so much.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on here. So remember, Andrea talked about micro level performance monitoring and macro level performance monitoring. Micro level is what you saw in the charts at the activity and the objective level. Macro level is the big picture. It's the dashboard, kind of the namesake here. Let me show you what that's going to look like. So the cool thing is the dashboard is dynamic. So every group has got its own dashboard. You've got one for the entire department. You got one for the strategic plan. In my case, let's say I'm the community health director. At this point in time, I want to see how is community health performing overall. I just go up and hit the traffic light. It takes about 10 seconds to calculate all the stuff that's going into there. And then it's going to give me a good snapshot of community health, a real-time snapshot of community health. So here's what we're looking at. Now, some of these numbers are old just because we've had a bit of a time off with COVID as well. But let me show you what we're looking at. So there's three elements up here. The top left corner I call the big picture. And this is the number of traffic light status, green, yellow, red, and gold across community health, total across community health. I can look at activities, I can look at objectives, or I can look at goals. And then you also have this schedule gauge, which is showing how are we doing against the assigned schedule. Remember, every activity had a beginning date and ending date, whether it was finite or calculated. So what it's doing is aggregating all the beginning date, ending date, percent complete, and calculating that we're 79 days behind schedule. The reason it's red is because it's over 60 days. If it's 0 to 60 days, then it'll be yellow, and if it's on schedule or ahead, it'll be green. So just gives you a visual snapshot of how we're doing. Ideally, you want to have almost everything in the green and the gold. Gold is completed, green's on track. If they're yellow, by the way, I can click on anything on this screen and drill down. So I could go look at those 6 activities that are yellow or this one that's red, maybe make some adjustments, maybe assign somebody to, fix it up, get it going here, something like that. So that's the big picture up here. I can also use the show subgroups button. So if I were on the department level, I could look at the department and the first level underneath that, which is typically the, like community health and administration, that sort of thing. If I hit show subgroups, it's going to show me the entire department. It'll take it a while to calculate, but it'll be the entire department status up there, all the number of traffic lights and everything else. Now, down here at the bottom, we have 3 different views. This is the detail. Number 1, we have your activity lead. So as you recall, at the activity level, we assigned an activity lead for each activity in here. They show up down this column. We have the last time that they updated the information, and you can see it's color coded. Green is less than 30 days, yellow is 30 to 60 days, and red is over 60 days. So you can see most of them are over 60 days old, which indicates that the data you're looking at is not necessarily real time. Remember the FTE number we assigned at the activity level? Well, we can also roll up by person here. So let's say you had somebody, and like Diane in this case is assigned 1.25 FTEs, meaning she's doing the job of 1 1/4 people. That's how you burn people out. They'll leave the organization. You don't want to do that. So you want to be able to keep an eye on that. Keep them down to the 0.9 or the 1.0 FTE where you can. Again, you can click on that, drill down, maybe reassign some of her activities to William down here. He's only a 0.3, and maybe get him up to a 0.8 or something and get Diane down below the 1.0. Lagging is just that. It's behind schedule. It's just calculated by beginning date, ending date, percent complete, and it's color coded as to how far again. Days is the same as the schedule gauge up here for the individual person. Overdue is the ending date is come and gone and you're not yet 100% complete. And then the number of red, yellow, green, and gold. So if you look across for any one person, you get a great snapshot of how that person is performing against their assigned plan elements. The other thing you can look at is groups, and all you're doing basically is changing out this first column with that same as the group screen in there, or priorities. Now, priorities is interesting because it's the strategic priorities from your strategic plan. So they're going to show up down this column, your strategic priorities, one of them may be partnering, and then it's going to show you all of the activities assigned to partnering, the people assigned, everything you need to know, but we're afraid to ask about partnering. So the strategic plan is typically the biggest, highest level plan for the department, and you want to make sure everything you're doing fits into your strategic plan. That's what that does for you in there. Up at the top right corner up here where it says My Priorities, these are objectives that you choose to keep your eye on up here. Now, at the objective screen, there's a little green checkbox you can click, and it'll set it to come up here, and it's attached to your user login. So everybody's is going to be different unless obviously you all go and select the same thing. Most often, you're just going to pick things that are red or yellow because if they're green or gold, they're either on track or already completed. But these are things you just might want to keep your eye on. Again, you can click down on it, go to the objective, see what's going on, maybe assign somebody to it, whatever you need to be able to do in there. But it gives you the ability just to keep your eye on things that are specific to you. So that's the dashboard screen. It's just really a great tool at any point in time to be able to monitor exactly what's going on in your area of responsibility. And you can look again, you can look at every group that you have access to, which most people have access to everything. The other thing I was mentioning earlier is you also have the ability now, this was one of our COVID upgrades. During the time when we had dust bunnies in our email, we decided to take some time and build some things that people have been asking for a long time. In this case, VMSG mobile dashboard. So what this allows you to do is on your phone to be able to get that same dashboard. Now, because of screen real estate, we had to break it into 3 screens, but these little arrows up here go back and forth between the blue arrows go back and forth between the top left corner, the bottom of the screen with the groups and priorities and leaders, and then the My Priorities. So they all show up on here. So you can get a snapshot on your phone of how's my area performing? How's the strategic plan performing? How's our reaccreditation plan performing? Now, one of the nice things about this app, the way we designed it, is it's not actually an app. It builds the app on the fly in your web browser on your phone. So depending on whether you have an iPhone or any other operating system on your phone, it'll pick the default web browser and it builds the app on the fly. So what that does for you is you never have to upgrade. You never have to update the app. It does it automatically every time you log in. It'll build the latest for you. So it's just a nice tool. This is one of the big usages at the dashboard, is looking at that dashboard in there. Document management. I don't know if you guys have actually seen this or used it or not, but what we did is built this in primarily for accreditation. What you're allowed to do is attach documents anywhere in the system. You can attach it to a person, you can attach it to a group, a service, a goal, objective, and activity. Most often they're attached to activities. Now, here's why it came about. And again, this came about at the request of MCDPH. The reason it came about was that you guys have a very, very large department. You got people everywhere. You got all kinds of different systems out there. And when you go at the end to submit all your documents up into EFAB, you got to find them all. You got to know, are these documents expired? So is your chip over 5 years old? Is your workforce development plan over 2 years old? You got to have all that information. What this allows you to do is take all those documents, attach them to the activities, typically in the accreditation or reaccreditation plan, attach them to the activities so you know exactly where they are. So when it's time to go into EFAB and put them in there, you know where they are. Each activity has got an expiration date attached with it down here. You see 12/10/19. What that tells you is that, yeah, the activity is, or the document is still valid. It's still within 5 years of the chip or whatever that happens to be. So it just gives you the ability to have a lot of information and to have all the documents. Now, we also put no limitations on the size of the document. You can put video files in there, whatever you want. No limitation on the number of documents. And again, they can be attached anywhere. So it's just a nice kind of a supplemental tool to help you to organize things as you're going through accreditation. Doesn't have to be accreditation, it can be anything else that you want. Maybe you're going to track receipts for a grant that you have for some COVID information or something along that line. So you can attach the receipts right there, build a little operational plan around grant tracking. A lot of people do that. And then every time you go in and spend money, you just attach a receipt to it so you keep the totals in there and that sort of thing. So just a nice supplemental tool kind of. Boatloads of reports in the system. Now, the most common report is this operational plan report. The operational plan is used probably 95% of the time. The rest of these are kind of specifics. We'll talk a little bit about some of these, like, you can say, what is Jana doing across the entire department in here, that team lead report, which partners are doing what on there, things along that line. But the operational plan report is very simple. This would be for that tobacco program we're just looking at. Now, as far as performance monitoring, this is the highest level of detail that you'll have. You get the graphs and the charts and that sort of thing are great, but when you want to get down to the excruciating detail, here you are. So it's the pyramid hierarchy here. So you got the group up here, Tobacco 2021, tobacco cessation, the goal, reduce smoking in high school, that objective, a SMART objective, who's leading it, what's the status of it. Then you've got all the activities under there. What's the status of the activities? Who's leading the activities? Who's involved with them? What's our status? What's our performance metric? Everything else you want to know. So the operational plan report is just simple. You pick either a group or you pick a service. So let's go back and actually run that report just so you can see it. So if I go back to my group here and I've got Tobacco 2021 as my group, I can get for the entire group. I can also, like I say, if you wanted to. I think we actually did this with you guys one time, and it was like 1,600 pages or something. But if I go to department level as a group and then do the operational plan report and hit show subgroups, it's going to show everything in the department, and it's going to be a huge report. So you probably don't want to do that because it'll take probably an hour to run. But I'm going to select Tobacco 2021 so I can see that entire group. Go up to my reports menu up here, hit operational plan report. Now, there is the ability to hide services, a little checkbox on the service thing. That's typically used for last year's stuff. You want to keep it in there, but you want to hide it from everybody else. If you're an administrator or a manager, you're going to get this box. Let's just say no for now. And there we go. So the first thing it's going to show you is your vision, mission, and values up at the top. And then down here in the operational plan itself, we have Tobacco 2021, tobacco cessation. Again, I get the show subgroups button, which wouldn't affect anything here because obviously there's no subgroups under this particular group here. I can hide the notes. So sometimes you don't want these notes to show up. You just click the little hide button here. I can show documents. So if I have documents attached, I don't know if we have any attached or not here. Nope, doesn't look like it. The documents will show up where they're attached. They'll show up in green. So it'll just show you the document file name in green up there. I can look by a specific set of dates. So what it's looking at is the end date of the activity. So if I just want to see things that are supposed to be executed by now, I can click on that and put in the dates. I can also look at just the red, yellow, green, or gold. I can look at any level in here. So if I just select objectives, it's going to take out the activities. And in some cases, you just want to see how the objective is performing, not the activity in there. So you can look at anything you want. So that's the operational plan report. Again, there's lots of options in here, and it's very, very detailed. Not something that everybody's going to want to be able to use for performance monitoring because it's again, very, very detailed. Okay, let's go back here. VMSG Public. This is something that was added probably 2 years ago. What this allows you to do is to create public web pages that are probably the lower level of status of performance monitoring up here. But what you're going to do is actually create what we call indicator rows. So you can see we have 3 of them on a page. This again is the tobacco program here. So tobacco cessation, and this is for the goal, reduce smoking in high schools. You'll notice the roll over here shows me the number of gold and green and yellow and red, and then a timeline. So these two are very similar to the top left corner of the dashboard screen. Obviously, it's not a traffic light, but so you got the schedule gauge in there. It says we're 11 days behind schedule. Most everything is complete and green, but we got 1 yellow and 1 red. Down here, I can look at the objective level. If I get down to the activity level, I can look at the real detail. So this is my create the training down here. So how far along are we? Halfway done, 75% done, that sort of thing. You can have as many indicator rows on a page as you want and as many pages as you want. What it ends up building is just this unique web address or URL. You can grab that, copy it, put it up on your public web page. You can email it to somebody. You can put it on social media, whatever you want to do with it. What it allows you to do is have a very simplified view of the status of anything. You might want to have your strategic plan at the top, and underneath that, each of the strategic initiatives underneath there, something along that. And then maybe you send that to senior management. It says, here's how we're doing as a department against our strategic plan or our reaccreditation plan, something like that. So it's just really a nice way to be able to share information any way you want. Nobody can get from here back into the system, by the way, so it's very isolated. Questions at this point? Okay, we got 2 more sections to go through here. 3-dimensional planning. This is underutilized, I think. But what this allows you to do, think of a plan laying out on a table as 2 dimensions, right? You've got the length and the width kind of the plan in here. But let's say you have a bunch of plans, like maybe your Fab 6 pack of plans, you got them all laying out there, and you want to look across all those plans for commonalities, look for gaps, look for overlaps. Pardon me. That's what 3-dimensional planning does for you. So let's say, for instance, we have the 12 essentials of public health and accreditation. we want to look across every plan to see how are we doing against essential number one in all the other plans. So we're going to go in through this categorization process. I'll show you here in a second. What it allows you to do is categorize these things against the essential public health, and then you can go back in and generate a report or look at the dashboard screen, that sort of thing, and get the information pulled out. FAB standards. So what are we doing as a department related to FAB standard 6.1? Remember the strategic priorities at the bottom of the dashboard screen we were talking about? This is where you go in and you tag the other plans against your strategic priorities. So what are we doing across all the plans related to partnering? And same thing with the documents. This is where you can tag all the documents against, for instance, the FAB standards. So no matter where they are in the system, and you can have, by the way, most people have around 1,000 documents when they're going through accreditation. So you can have 1,000 documents and you want to say, which ones do I submit for standard 4.2 up into EFAB? Well, you tag them and away you go. You got them all there. So let me show you what that looks like in the system here. So if I want to tag tobacco cessation, I've got it already tagged down here. So this little button down here is my categorization. I can go up here and I can see, okay, I've got it tagged against these 3 strategic priorities. Down here, I've got it tagged against these 2 essentials of public health and FAB domain 1 reaccreditation measure 1.1. So I can have as many different tags on there as I want. It allows me to go back and look, and there's a lot of Boolean logic that you can use to say, I just want to see things that are essential number 2 and FAB domain reaccreditation measure 1.1, something like that. So there's ands and ors and things. So you can get a lot of different information by going through the categorization process. But that's how it works. Is you're going to categories. Each category has subcategories. You select those, and away you go. Accreditation reaccreditation plan. This we have both in there. So there's 3 different accreditation plans. There's a state, local, and a tribal accreditation plan. Reaccreditation plan is the same for state, local, and tribal. So what we did is took the, let me take you back in here. So it's a group. I don't know if you guys have this. If not, we'll certainly put it on there for you. FAB reaccreditation. And if I start walking down here, first of all, we have the 7 steps. And if you look at those, you guys are down here probably, finishing up your annual reporting and getting into reaccreditation, or already deep into reaccreditation, I would imagine down here. The other thing you have is each domain. Now, typically on the accreditation plan, you have all the standards in here, but obviously there's no standards. There are just reaccreditation measures, the 31 or 32, I might forget, under the reaccreditation measures. So if I go down to here, then I have the reaccreditation measures in here. It's the objective, so it's what we're trying to accomplish. And the cool thing about that, so at this point, you can assign your domain leads. So for every reaccreditation measure within domain 1, you might want to assign whoever your lead is for domain 1 as the objective lead. And then the activities are, what do I have to do to accomplish that particular measure? And by the way, this stuff is all FAB. We didn't create any of it. We just took from the public available FAB information, built the plans out so that you guys could utilize them here. So now what you have is a set of activities that if you complete these activities, you're going to be able to meet that measure in there. Down here is the document management on all the screens. It's a little blue folder. I click on that. It says I've got this strategic plan attached to it in here. I've got the date on it. I've got description. I've got document name, and I can use the flag. Let's say a yellow flag might indicate it's a draft. So once you get to gold, you can say that the plan is complete and ready to go, something along that line. So a lot of things you can do with that just to help you to manage through the process in there. So that is the reaccreditation plan. We have a tool that allows us to go in and set all of these dates for you. We can actually go in and set by domain for all the activities. We can set the activity leads for you, that sort of thing. So if you decide you want to use this plan, you may be too far, through your process to do this, but you can use this plan to guide you through, automatically have people update the information on a basis anywhere from daily to monthly that you want to do. And they can update their information, provide the documents, tag the documents, and you're set to go. So it's built in there. It's all available to you. I'll look on your particular site and see if you actually have it on there. I would think you do, but if not, we're happy to put it on there for you. The other thing you can do, this kind of came about again from a bit of COVID stuff going on, a virtual mock site visit. So if you're using the accreditation plan, you can have somebody from the outside or somebody from the inside, if you have them, actually go in and do a review on the plan. So they're going to review your plan and all of the documents. And then they go in here, there's a little review button on the activity and objective screen. You click on that, you open up here, and you're going to be able to put in notes and questions, set the traffic light, green, yellow, red, gold, things along that line. So what it allows you to do then is to grade where you are. And if you bring somebody else in, maybe you find one of the fab site visitors to do this for you. They can come in from outside without having to be, on site. We will train them on how to do it. It's a very simple process. Walk them through how to go through all of your plan, give them the access that they need to do it and that sort of thing. They can walk through. Then there's a report that gets generated automatically for you that gives you everything that you should be looking at in order to pass your reaccreditation site visit, your virtual site visit in there. So that's available to you as well. Training, help, and information. There is a boatload of, some people like online training, some people don't. So we give you the option. You can either use the training modules, or you can, we'll be happy to do as much training as you want this way, or do both. It's totally up to you, but we'll do it either way. We'll show you what's available. So on every screen, I have the ability to go, let's go back to services here. So let's say I'm on services and I'm looking at these buttons and I don't remember what this little hourglass is for. I can always go up to the little blue eye, and it takes me to help and information. The first 5 up here are the training videos. So the introduction basically is what we're going through today. So you can kind of skip that one. VMSG Basics is all about every button and field and everything on every screen. Operational plan development is actually kind of cool, but it gives you a bunch of real examples that came from public health departments all across the nation for services, activities, goals, objectives, everything that you want. It gives you maybe, a dozen examples of what they look like. So it's easier to put together in your head kind of what should the verbiage look like for these things. Performance monitoring is all about the reporting, the screens, the charts and graphs and all that kind of stuff in there. And then the administrator stuff would be for you guys probably, which is how do I manage users? How do I assign the users? How do I build out the partner profiles, that sort of thing. So all of these, if you went through all of these, again, you can forget the first one, saves you about 48 minutes, I think that is on there. Probably be about 2.5 to 3 hours to go through all of those training videos, but they are very, very detailed. And I will suggest that you don't do them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon after a big lunch, because you probably won't make it through the day that way. I would fall asleep. But again, they're detailed. They're just probably a little bit dry. The other thing you have is, if you go to the help screen, it's context sensitive. So remember, we came in it from services. It takes us over to here. It gives me definition of everything that's on that screen. I also can link right here, right to that training video, but it takes you, fast forwards, if you will, right to the section of the training video related to adding and managing services. Down here, this button is the user guide. So it's a complete PDF file that is hyperlinked. So you click on the table of contents, it takes you to the area you're looking for in there. It's complete for everything in the system. And then this one is called implementation guidelines. What it is a document that we update regularly from feedback that we get from health departments all across the nation. And some of it, like for instance, one of our health departments in Wisconsin built a operational planning template. It's a Word document that allows you to go in and put it out on paper in front of you. Maybe you put it up on a screen in a room full of people as you're developing a plan, and take inputs and then just type it in there as you're going. So it just kind of shows you the big picture. Then you can go back and copy and paste that right into the system. There's some IT stuff in there. You guys are real good as far as that goes, but just a lot of different things that you might want to look at on how to use the system effectively. So that's all in there for you. Okay, we've got one more section to go. Any questions up till now? Away we go. Okay, we talked about the real-time planning. This, let me give you kind of an example here. So if you have your Fab 6 packet plans all in here, all the way down to the activity level, there's a potential that you could have hundreds and hundreds of activities, and probably a third of that in a number of objectives that need to be updated. The question is, how are you going to do that? So if you're the person who's responsible for the plan, let's say it has 100 activities, you're going to have to get on the phone. Hang on one second, please. You're going to have to get on the phone. You're going to have to get on email. You're going to get on text and say, hey, how are you doing on this activity? What's the current status? That's going to take forever to do that. That's why we built intelligent real-time planning into it. So here's how it works. Most often people set it for a monthly cycle. It can be anywhere between daily and monthly, anywhere in between there. You can set it up for every other week and 2 days on every other week, something like that, but typically it's monthly. So let's say we got it set up for the first Monday of the month. At 1 a.m. on the first Monday of the month, really at 1 a.m., the system goes in and it looks at every one of your users who's been assigned as an activity or objective lead, and it asks 3 questions. Number 1, have you been in the last 30 days and updated your stuff? Number 2, do you have anything that's behind schedule? Number 3, do you have anything that's overdue? If any of those is matched, out go the emails. And again, remember, we can go to external partners as well as internal folks. In the emails, a link that takes you back into what we call quick update. Now, quick update screen, and this, I'll show you the live screen here in a second. It looks a little complicated, but it's really not. There's only 3 fields to update on there. I'll show you that. You're going to go through that. It's going to cycle you through all of the particular activities and objectives you've been assigned, and then you log out. Just to give you an idea, if you have a department the size of yours and the activities are all spread out amongst people who are doing them, it might take 3 to 5 minutes per person per month to do that. So instead of 1 or 2 people having to make calls and emails and all that kind of stuff, collect the information, enter it in the system, it'll happen automatically, and all those people will do it. You saw on the dashboard screen where you can monitor that they are getting in there and doing that. So if you need to contact somebody who's been out, 60 days and hasn't updated it, you can contact them and say, we need your help getting this done. What it looks like is, one second here. Oh, the quick update screen, I'm sorry. So I go back to the main menu. When I log in, it'll give me an option if I've been assigned as an activity objective lead to go immediately to quick update, or you can go here on the main menu. It takes a couple seconds for it to calculate everything on the screen, but here's what it looks like. So again, it looks a little complex, but it's not, because everything in the blue up here is just read only, and it's the pyramid. So the group, service, goal, objective, activity. And it says we have 1 of 6 activities that we're going to be updating today. Down at the bottom, there's only 3 fields. You can cycle through the traffic lights, you can put in a value, or you can put in a note, or all of the above. Now, another thing that we added over COVID was the ability to put in data source. So this is another field. Typically, this is just put in when you enter the activity, where am I going to get this data from? But when I pop this open, it says, here's a data source, just text, and maybe go to the VPN, or go to the shared drive and go to shared drive 123 or something along that line. Or you can put a direct link in here. So if you're on an internal network, you can put that, or you can put in a web link. So what it's going to allow you to do is go down here, if you got a web link, and just click on this little link, and it'll take you, pop open a new window, take you right to that web page. So maybe you're tracking COVID vaccinations, and let's say there's a CDC web page or an ADHS web page that says, here's how many vaccinations we've done in the state, and you're tracking that. You want to have that data. So you can just go pop open a web page, grab that data, copy and paste it, put it into here. So it gives you the ability to do that. So I mentioned there are 6 activities that I've been assigned. So I can either cycle through the activities of the arrow, or save and cycle through the activities down here. I'm going to go to the arrow. Don't need to save that. So I've got a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when I'm done with the activities, click on that. It's going to say, hey, you're also an objective lead. Let's go to the objectives. So I can either go, log out, go to the dashboard. I can stay on this one, or I go to the objectives. So it's going to open a similar screen, but it's objectives. Now the objectives are here in the middle. Again, there's only 3 fields: the traffic light, data value, and the notes. If I want to go to the activities that are related to that objective, I can click down here and go straight to the quick update for the activities again and cycle through those again. But then I'm going to go through my 11 objectives, and I'm going to log out. Your documents go right in here. You can attach the documents during this. So maybe you're updating one of the reaccreditation plan activities and you want to attach the documents, you can do that. This little key guy right here allows you to change your password. So if you go into this screen and on the main menu, there's also a password button here. So you may have noticed that your passwords are these cryptic strings typically. If not, and you want to change it, just go to the password screen. It's got a, if I click on that, it's got current password, new password, verify new password, like every other website in the world here. This is what that reminder email looks like. This is those 3 criteria: 30 days, behind schedule, overdue. For everything you've been assigned, here's the status: green, yellow, red, and gold. Now, I don't know if this is updated or not, but we can do this very simply. What we do is typically take your folks like yourselves who are org admins, and we assign them to different groups to be the administrator for the group. So what happens is if I get this email and I don't know why I got the email or not working like I thought, I can contact William or Fred, give me the email address, give me the phone number in here, so I can go in and do that. What that allows me to do then is just get hold of somebody. So I have that information there. And then down here is the link. You click on the login.vmsgdashboard.com, takes you in there. You can either go hit the send button and get your information emailed to you, or if you already know it or got it stored in your browser or your phone, you can go right in there and do it. So it'll take you right in there. You log in and you go through your quick updates and you log out 3 to 5 minutes later. The login credentials, you've already seen this. I see that you guys have already looked at your stuff. So it's going to send you your user ID and password by using the send button. Again, you go in and typically change the password to something you can remember in here. Quick update is also on VMSG Mobile. So the dashboard and VMSG Mobile are the 2 most used functions. So that's why we started with them on the mobile version. But you've got the activity quick update and the objective quick update. Again, you're going to put in 3 fields: the notes, traffic light, and the actual value. Hit the save button, go to the next one, next one, next one. Go to the objectives, do the same thing, and you're done. So, let's say you're out doing vaccinations and you get your email notification. You got a little break here, nobody's come in. So you want to be able to go in and just update this. Just pop open your phone, go to login.vmsgdashboard.com on your phone. It knows that it's a phone. It'll bring up this particular app and away you go. And that was your drink out of a fire hose for the day.
Ta-da! And I'm just going to interject. We the way that we're trying to tell our health departments about the quick update, and I always want to do this word picture, and I'll be very quick. But we do have this one campaign where you have an accreditation coordinator or a group lead doing everything and also having to be the one to update everybody else's activities. And we want to get it across that, you know what, those emails, and it might be the nomenclature, go out to the people that are actually doing the activity, so that, let's say it's a separate objective lead, he or she can go in, like Nicole, into her dashboard, and her dashboard's already updated. That's real time, because whatever collaborative effort you're doing out in the field or in a different department, those people who have installed the car seats, done the immunizations, they have gotten that reminder and they've taken the 2 minutes to update all those activities. And Nicole gets to go and sit down and it's already updated. That is what our desire is, that it takes the heat off of the people having to update that for management, upper management or whatnot. So I don't know if that came across really well. We're kind of working on that portion of it, because we'll have, we have the city of San Antonio and they have, 300-400 people and they use it. Okay, but we'll have the whole state of North Carolina, let's say, for example, and out of 2,000 people, they need only 10 licenses per health department. And so they don't, it just hasn't come across. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for you. I hope there's so much more. We just really just skimmed over the surface. And is there something there that you saw that you didn't know before?
Oh, most of it, actually. I haven't had time to like get in there and play around. I don't think Nicole has either. We're super excited that we have an accreditation coordinator on board that has some familiarity with this. So all of that is great. Yeah, I really, really appreciate the time that you spent. I do have to jump on another meeting.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
I would love a follow-up and, you know, maybe in a couple weeks, bring back a couple other members of our team and find out how they see this kind of benefiting us as we launch into the reaccreditation, which we have to submit this year at the end of the year.
Okay.
So we're
Well,
right.
if Nicole wants to find out where she wants to drill down on the first training, we can get those people online, train them, and then as you're digging deeper, as many trainings as you need. That all comes with your system that you already have.
That's great. I'm really excited about the functionality of this. This is actually very, very helpful.
Great.
All right, Jenna, and thank you so much. And Nicole, do you have any other questions?
If you need anything,
Well, I was
you
just going to
get
say, I was excited to see that there were a list of trainings that you've already put together, and it sounds like they're pretty detailed. So, you know, we'd want our team to be able to take a look at some of those and go through that before we take up more of your time. But I was really excited to see that we have that, and you know, we're so glad to hear that you're willing to work with us and get us trained up and answer our questions. I was really excited to hear that. So we'll definitely be working with you all again soon.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And we'll let you guys go, and thanks again. And I will send you guys, well, you have all of our information and Fred's phone number and all that. Okay.
Yep.
Good. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Be blessed.
You too.
Thank you.